Good evening and welcome. I'm Amanda McMullen, the president of the New Bedford Whaling Museum. Tonight we are marking the progress of 100 years. It is, of course, against the backdrop of a pandemic, a loud cry for racial equity, and a looming financial crisis. For me, this moment begs us all to question the concept of unfinished work. This moment, though, also gives me some hope. More than 2 years ago, a group of community leaders created a vibrant and important program at the museum called Lighting the Way: Historic Women of the South Coast. They wanted to give voice to the countless contributions by local women, and they did just that by researching, publishing, sharing, and teaching the stories of more than 100 women. The group marched towards this moment in 2020, marking the centennial passage of the 19th Amendment, which prevented voting discrimination based on gender. While the 19th Amendment was a momentous achievement on paper, we cannot overlook the fact that in practice, voices of far too many women of color remained silent. The visionary behind this project, Chrissy Bascom, has said it best. Women's contributions have often been heard as whispers in history. Well, tonight, we are no longer whispering. No, tonight, we are here to roar. Tonight, we will lift up two important women from our community: educator Mariel Harper and community leader Jenny Horn. Our efforts for Lighting the Way have been made possible by the generous support from the Arcadia Charitable Trust, CHT Foundation, the Island Foundation, Mass Humanities, Mass Cultural Council, and hundreds upon hundreds of individual supporters. Thank you. And while we're here to honor those that came before us, perhaps one of the most important aspects of Lighting the Way is the connection to the next generation. To showcase 10 women whose stories had been a whisper for far too long, we asked 10 local students to give them voice. As a moment and a movement, Lighting the Way is committed to amplifying the women of our community, those who came before us, and those who will lead tomorrow. In the words of Marian Wright Edelman, you can't be what you can't see. And I, for one, cannot wait to see these powerful women displayed on the side of the Whaling Museum for all to be inspired by. Thank you again for joining us, and it is my pleasure to introduce our Director of Education, Christina Turner.
Hello, my name is Christina Turner, and I'm the Director of Education here at the New Bedford Whaling Museum. I am reporting live right now from the museum, and I'm so excited to welcome you to the Lighting the Way for All Public Art Unveiling, a project that so many of you joining us here virtually tonight have made possible. Lighting the Way is an initiative of the New Bedford Whaling Museum, and its mission is to explore and amplify the historical impact of women from the South Coast region through research and programming, so that South Coast community members can understand and celebrate the contributions of women to our community and have a stronger sense of collective identity and civic pride. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which made it illegal to deny someone the right to vote based on sex. The public art project Lighting the Way for All commemorates the centennial, acknowledges the unfinished work started during the women's suffrage movement, and celebrates historic women who forged the path and lit the way for us all. The Lighting Way for All project also recognizes and celebrates the role of young women inspired by the historical impact of the women who came before them, who will be tasked with continuing the work and building our legacy. For this project, the histories of 10 civically engaged Lighting the Way women were chosen, and local middle school, high school, and college students narrated their stories in 10 inspiring videos. Thousands of you participated in the selection process by watching videos, voting, and ultimately selecting Mariel Harper and community leader Jenny Horn as the subjects of a public art piece. Artist Elaine Carlson that did the hard and inspiring work of creating images of the two women that will be unveiled on a final banner in just a short amount of time. However, before we do the big reveal, we want you to hear more about the inspiring women who you voted for and their connections to the South Coast community. So, without further ado, here is Lee Blake, President of the New Bedford Historical Society and Lighting the Way committee member, giving us a little more information about both of the women profiled tonight.
Hi, I am Lee Blake, a writer and volunteer with the Lighting the Way project and also president of the New Bedford Historical Society. I work with a great team that has now completed the biographies of 100 women who have made their mark on New Bedford. Today, we are honoring two important women who have touched the lives of so many others during their lifetime. Both of these women I had the privilege of working with over my educational career. Jenny Horn worked on the War on Poverty initiatives during the 1960s and was an important resource for the Black community. She ran the Onboard Resource Center and made sure that information on education and community programs got out to the members of our community. During this time, information on how people of color could access these opportunities wasn't always available. Jenny made sure it was. She advised our families on the Head Start program, Job Corps, Model Cities, and on the Upward Bound program. All were new initiatives that offered educational and job opportunities for everybody. Jenny introduced the programs to individuals and coaxed people to apply. Personally, she helped me on the path to being an educator by telling me about the Upward Bound program when I was a junior in high school. My career as an educator for the past 50 years was started with a conversation and support with Jenny about my future. There are a number of personal stories I have heard from other women who Jenny coaxed into coming into the workforce, teaching at the Onboard Center after school programs, and working with young people of the West End community. Jenny so personified the motto of the Martha Briggs Educational Club, where she was an active member. Their motto for the past 100 years is lifting as we climb. Mariel Harper was my supervisor during my first years as a young teacher at New Bedford High School in 1975, where I taught African American studies then. I'd love to be teaching it now. There were just a few teachers of color at the time, and Mel helped us handle the stress of working with so many young folks as we learned the ropes at the high school. She touched the lives of many students who needed a little extra guidance and attention. As teachers, we looked up to her, and she mentored us as we made our careers in education. As a member of the Lighting the Way project, I am grateful to research and write the biographies of so many women who have contributed to the city. The website covers over 350 years of women doing extraordinary things. I hope you are inspired by the project and consider adding new names and bios as we continue to create an inclusive narrative on the role of women in our city's history. Thank you and enjoy the evening.
Thank you so much, Lee. And what better way to learn more about Jenny and Mariel than to hear directly from family members about their life and legacy. So next we will hear from two of their children, or one of each of their children, to learn a little bit more about them.
Mrs. Harper, now, or as I know her, Mom, was a role model and a big influence on my decision to become an educator. I have come to realize and to witness how many lives she touched. Both my brother Treg and myself witnessed for ourselves the influence and respect that was shown to her by former students and staff members. kids. Being out and about with my mom, we could not go anywhere without people stopping and reintroducing themselves and introducing their families. And most times the conversation ended with a, "Thank you, Mrs. Harper." One of the most important things that I saw and I think is missing today is when she was approached, regardless of age or position, people stood taller, spoke clearer, not out of fear, but ultimate respect and appreciation. New Bedford is truly a diverse community, and my mom, with Cape Verdean and Native American heritage, offered a huge sense of familiarization for people of similar ethnic backgrounds. She was known for always dressing professionally, her hair tied back in a bun, and the beautiful color of her skin made her an instant sense of pride for the New Bedford community. Parents and children felt more comfortable approaching her and respected her decisions, good or bad. I have been told on many occasions that younger women of color would look at her not only as a woman of authority, but a woman who could have been their mom, aunt, or close family member. When I found out she was nominated for the Whaling Museum's Lighting the Way project, I thought, oh no, my mom would feel undeserving if she found out she was going to be in a museum. However, the more I thought about it, this is where she belongs. I just think that during her time as a teacher and administrator, thousands of students and staff passed through her doors, and somehow I have to believe she left a lasting impression on most of them. Mrs. Harper belongs to this community, but to me, she is just mom.
Hi everyone, I'm Carol Horn Heath, youngest child of Jenny Horn. My older brothers are Lou Horn, who passed in 2017, Bob Horn, and my mother's honorary son, Edward Rogers. On behalf of our family, sincere gratitude to the New Bedford Whaling Museum for sponsoring the Lighting the Way project and to the many organizations and individuals who supported and voted for Mom. For the many extraordinary women on the ballot, it is an honor that Mom was selected, and it's deeply meaningful to me because I watched her follow her passion, never seeking reward or recognition. My brother Bob said he realized at an early age that he would have to share his mother with the community, as she was active in many organizations and as director of West Central Onboard Community Center. Mom was always deeply committed despite facing many personal challenges, including recovering from polio and suddenly becoming sole provider for 3 young children after her marital separation. Aside from seeing her as a very loving mother, I remember her as an encourager, a connector, and a helper. From an early age, I recall that people would share their goals, aspirations, and endeavors with her. As I was often with her on errands, I would hear her respond enthusiastically. Great, that's wonderful to hear, and I know you will do well. Please keep me updated. As a connector, she would let the person know of key individuals they might contact and offer to help in any way she could. Many remember her zest for life, warm smile, and engaging and often playful personality. We hope our remembrances portray her as a woman who exemplifies the essence of this recognition, which to us is the idea that one woman can light the way for others, and those persons in turn can light the way for others who come behind them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from artist Alyn Carlson, who not only designed the final banner featuring both women, but is also responsible for all of the design work for the Lighting the Way for All project. Alyn is going to talk to us about her inspiration and creative process behind creating the final product.
Hi, it's Alyn Carlson. I'm the artist responsible for doing the Lighting the Way art, the illustrations, portraits of our finalists, our winners. When I first started working on the project, I began thinking about the connections all of these women had in common. And of course, light came to mind. And of course, I thought about here in New Bedford. New Bedford was responsible for lighting the world back in the whaling era, and that connection to me also led me to a memory that I had. It was a candlelight march that I was involved in 1983, right here in New Bedford. It was in support of a rape victim, and the streets were flooded with people, all with candles, and all the darkness behind them falling back. It was really an incredible evening and an incredible memory for me. So when I began to think about each one of these women and the tenacity that they had to have to always be turning towards the light, to consistently be leaving the darkness behind them and finding the light, finding their light constantly. I started to see how illustrating them could work. And so I decided to really portray them in candlelight or in lamplight. So the reference that I was given, there was a lot of work to gather that for me. And the visual reference that I got went back in some cases over 100 years ago when photography first began. So these photographs, as you can imagine, were a little on the fuzzy side. And then the more recent ones where family members and coworkers were contacted to kind of dig through their scrapbooks and find reference. So I really enjoyed the process of taking these beautiful women, these incredible faces, turning them towards the light and illustrating them. I brought to the illustration style hopefully a feeling of emotion and strength, and there's a little bit of a looseness to kind of give it a little bit more of a contemporary feel. So anyway, I thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this. I hope you find the work just a portion slightly as inspiring as I found these women to be. And thank you again, and enjoy the reveal.
We will join Lighting the Way project coordinator, Kathy Saunders, live out on Paul Cuffey Park for the unveiling of the final Lighting the Way for All public banner featuring Mariel Harper and Jenny Horn.
Hello, I am standing here out on the New Bedford Whaling Museum's Paul Cuffey Park under an umbrella because it is raining. And I'm just so delighted that I'm about to show you these beautiful banners, which are just to my left. And we're going to take a little turn here so that we can see them. And you will, we hope that you will drive down Union Street and get to see them in person. You can see Jenny there on top and Mariel just beside her. And their faces turning towards the light and towards downtown New Bedford. And when you come and drive down Union Street, we hope that you will see the other artwork that was created for us by Lynn, and Christina will tell you a little more about that.
So thank you all who have joined us here tonight. As Kathy just mentioned, out on Union Street are 4 additional panels running along Paul Cuffey Park. One which highlights the overall Lighting the Way for All project, as well as information about Lighting the Way for All generally. Additional 2 women who were profiled, Dr. Marie Equi and Emma Louise Piper, as well as another panel with more information about both Jenny Horn and Mariel Harper. And these are all featured alongside, again, the wall on Union Street along Paul Cuffey Park. Thank you to everyone who has joined us this evening. We hope that you will tune in to the other virtual AHA events that are happening tonight, celebrating Lighting the Way and the creative work of artists in your community. We also hope that you stay tuned for other Lighting the Way events that are coming this fall. We have a couple of things continuing, talking about the legacy of the centennial of the 19th Amendment and centering women of color in that narrative. And then an election forum coming in October to really talking about women's issues in voting and all the different things that we will be focusing on in this year's upcoming election. So again, thank you to everyone, project supporters, the larger New Bedford community. We are so grateful that you could be here supporting the work tonight. Thank you, we appreciate you, and have a wonderful evening.